welcome football fans to Tim Reynolds Show's Friday Football Talk. Welcome everybody to the show. Please make sure you guys like and subscribe to the channel and help me reach my goal as we are on the road to 1,000 subs right here on this sports entertainment, football loving YouTube channel that is Tim Reynolds Show. Let's fucking go. Thank you everybody for hanging out here and happy Friday to everybody as we're going to talk a little bit of football here on Tim Reynolds Show today. Please make sure you guys check out my channel for more NFL football content galore, and also I got some WWE content and NASCAR content that I'm sure you guys will love as well. And guys, we're going to kick it off here on this Football Friday talking about the big Super Bowl blowout in Super Bowl 59 where we've seen the Philadelphia Eagles, the NFC champions, dominate the back-to-back reigning defending Kansas City Chiefs in Super Bowl 59 as we see Philadelphia scored over 40 points in this Super Bowl and dominated. Even though the final score was 40-22, it wasn't even that close. And we've seen Patrick Mahomes get sacked a career high 6 times in this Super Bowl, and that is his most sacks since he faced the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in Super Bowl 55, where they had 5 sacks against quarterback Patrick Mahomes in that game. And guys, what an amazing offseason it's already planning out to be, as we've seen some big news come across NFL streaming lines and also on social media platforms, not only for ESPN and many other platforms, including NFL.com, as we see the NFL is investigating Baltimore Ravens kicker Justin Tucker after allegations have come out from several women, massage women, that has said he has done some sexual misconduct. So that's a very interesting thing to think about. And also, we see that the Panthers are planning on releasing cornerback Jackson to help clear salary cap space in a move that probably has a lot to do with the fact that the Carolina Panthers just re-signed backup quarterback and veteran quarterback Andy Dalton, as we see the Carolina Panthers will clear $3.35 million in salary cap by releasing veteran cornerback Deontay Jackson. With them already having Jace Horn on their team in that secondary, this is not a surprising move, but they just signed Jackson to a 2-year deal last offseason, so I guess a little interesting to see this move so soon for the Carolina Panthers as we head into the 2025 NFL offseason. We also see for the Cincinnati Bengals, they have released defensive tackle Sheldon Rankins after 1 season with the team. After the prize free agent was signed to the team last offseason, it was a 2-year deal worth $24.5 million. But however, this defense of the Cincinnati Bengals this past season were not able to do much, especially with how much offensive numbers the offense was putting up, and the defense was just not showing up all season long. So obviously a cap move here for the Cincinnati Bengals. And we also see the big news coming out yesterday was the Cowboys All-Pro guard Zach Martin is retiring from the NFL. A huge blow for the Dallas Cowboys, who are already dealing with a lot of offseason questions coming up here in 2025. And man, with the draft only right around the corner and free agency soon to start here in the next few weeks, it's definitely going to be interesting to see what the Dallas Cowboys do after losing their All-Pro guard who has announced his retirement. That is guard Zach Martin for the Dallas Cowboys. And also, guys, some other big news around the NFL. We see that the Chargers and safety Elijah Molden have agreed on a 3-year contract extension worth $18.75 million on a 3-year deal. This is a very, very good deal for the Los Angeles Chargers and that secondary, especially how now they will have some continuity as we see that they are sending and the Chargers are definitely trying to send a message here by getting their defense going good. What's up, everybody? Thank you for hanging out here on Tim Reynolds Show. We are in the USA, and thank you guys for hanging out. We're doing some Friday football talk here. So, guys, if you have any questions in the chat, football related about the NFL or maybe college football as well, let me know in the chat. Really appreciate you guys hanging out here. I'm trying to reach my goal of 1,000 subs here. So, thank you guys so much for hanging out here on Tim Reynolds Show. Hey, bro, you look like Zuckerberg. Holy shit, thanks, man. I guess I'll take that as a little bit of a compliment, even though Zuckerberg's a weird cat. That's for damn sure. So, guys, one of the big things and topics I want to talk about here with you guys today is the salary cap going up for the NFL, which is really, really big news for a lot of teams out there this offseason. What's going on? Hi there, brother. The salary cap is supposed to go up tremendously here for the NFL coming up here soon, which could be very, very big for a lot of teams because there are a lot of NFL teams that are definitely looking to make some moves heading into the offseason here. And I got to tell you, I'm really excited to see what happens with this new salary cap. I'm trying to see here what the actual numbers are supposed to be here for the new salary cap coming up here for the NFL, as we'll try to get you guys that up to date here soon. I'm really interested to see what these NFL teams do, though, coming up into this offseason, because with more money coming in, with the salary cap going up, that means the excuses are going to be cut really big for this team, because I got to admit, guys, like, how are you going to say you're putting the best team out there that you can as a franchise if you're not spending the money that you need to? So what's going on, man? We see, who do you think will win next year's Super Bowl? Man, I think it's too early to tell, but man, you got to put Detroit and Philadelphia in the conversation, right, for the NFC, and maybe even my Tampa Bay Buccaneers, or possibly the Washington Commanders, who definitely surprised a lot of people during the playoffs this past year. But also in the AFC, man, I really do think the Bengals are going to have a big bounce back this upcoming season if they're able to re-sign everybody. But man, it's still the Chiefs right now in the AFC. Maybe Baltimore as well, if you look at them. Maybe even Buffalo, as far as some teams to look at in the AFC. But guys, I have no clue who's winning the Super Bowl next year. We'll have to see what happens during the offseason and during the NFL draft before we decide that. And I need to get this light on. Need to get a little bit more light on the situation. There we go, there we go. Little bit better. How much are the Philadelphia Eagles players paid? Hey, man, they get paid quite a lot. I see Howie Roseman there, the general manager, does a pretty damn good job for the Philadelphia Eagles. So, hell yeah, man. I'm not a huge soccer fan. I prefer to play it, I guess, a little bit more than I do to watch it, to be honest with you, on TV. But definitely like playing some soccer, bro. All right, guys, let's get the quick little update here on that salary cap situation. I want to try to get the exact numbers for what it could be going up to here, because it's pretty big. And with this salary cap going up as much as it's going up, you're going to see a lot of teams really have to start making really good moves in order for them to be competitive next year. You know what I mean? Like, the NFL franchises are running out of excuses, guys. They have got to produce and put the best team out there if there's money to put teams out there. I think one of the weirdest things we've seen throughout the last couple of off seasons in the NFL is the fact that these general managers, or I guess presidents of personnel and stuff like that. And look, we already got a new sub. Thank you, man. Appreciate you guys. Damn, thank you, guys. Appreciate all the nice comments, man. We got Two Socks. He says, how do you feel about the Buccaneers' future? Dude, I am feeling so good about the Buccaneers' future, man. I am telling you what, Tampa Bay is definitely looking like their time is now to compete for a Super Bowl title, and especially after seeing the way they played against the Washington Commanders. I mean, guys, the Commanders blew out the Detroit Lions, and let's not forget, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers this season, we did defeat the Detroit Lions and the Philadelphia Eagles during the regular season. So I really do think the future is bright for Tampa Bay, not only for their offense, which looks like they're going to remain a high-powered offense going forward, even with all that bullshit that happened with former offensive coordinator Liam Cohen. Guys, what was that? I mean, you say that you're going to come back to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, you give them a verbal agreement, and then you just up and leave like a little freaking sneaky high schooler to go be the head coach for the Jacksonville Jaguars? Hey, you know what? Karma's undefeated, guys. I'll tell you that. So watch out if you're a Jaguars fan this year. I don't expect the Jaguars to look like a very good playoff team this upcoming season, although I do believe Liam Cohen could be a very good NFL head coach, but we'll have to see. All right, guys, we got some more questions popping in here in the chat, so thank you, guys. I want to try it. There we go. I finally got it up as far as the salary cap numbers that we're going to go over and talk about here with you guys. Thank you guys so much for liking and subscribing to Tim Reynolds Show. I'll get to your questions here in just a second. All right, so right now the salary cap is expected to raise from $255 million, or about $255.5 million like it was last year, to up to $277.5 million, but could go as high as $281.5 million for this upcoming season. That is up to a $22 million increase from last year to this year. That's going to be huge for a lot of big NFL franchises who think they are just on the cusp of possibly being Super Bowl contenders. And one team I'm definitely going to watch out for in the NFC is the Washington Commanders, because they got a lot of cap room and they also need to fill a lot of positions on that team this upcoming offseason. Thank you, Zach. Appreciate the comments. Let's get to your comments here, guys. Try to answer some questions for you. Thank you guys so much for liking and subscribing to Tim Reynolds Show. This is my goal here. We're trying to reach 1,000 subs before the end of this Football Friday live stream. So, guys, let's make it happen, man. Come on. All right, so let's try to go up to the top here and answer some of the questions that I see popping off in the chat. Thank you, K.O. I'm not going to try to pronounce your name, man, but I appreciate your sub. Thank you so much for all the support. Zach says, bro, you're talented. You look like a professional speaker. Thank you, man. I really appreciate that, dude. Gator Travels, I think I've seen you in the chat here before. What do you think of U.S. versus Canada hockey game yesterday? Dude, Gator, I was actually freaking like a little disappointed in myself that I didn't watch more of it, you know? Working on the channel, trying to hang out with the wife, you know, get a bunch of stuff done yesterday. I didn't get a chance to watch it, but I did get to watch the highlights. And man, I love what the USA hockey team was able to do. It's really tough to see us not be able to beat Canada. But guys, I mean, Canada is the capital of hockey, right? So congratulations to Canada. And what an amazing run for the US hockey team as well. All right. KO wants to know, who is your favorite NFL player? Man, if KO, if you're asking me right now, man, I want to try to see if I can give this a good shot. All right. Kahushla or Duda or Duidra? Hope I tried to get that right for you, man, right there. But my favorite NFL player, if you're talking about right now, has got to be wide receiver Mike Evans from my Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I think this guy is so underrated and honestly doesn't get the credit that he deserves with how dominant he's been in the NFL throughout his NFL career. And also, not to mention, linebacker Levante David, still one of the most underrated linebackers in the NFL, even though he is dominated from that position. Definitely a defensive captain. I hope we get him re-signed this offseason. All right. New York C RKG wants to know, how do you feel about Buffalo Bills coming into next season? Man, I gotta give them credit, man. This past season, Buffalo did not look like they were going to be a contender to me. I thought the defense looked like it was going to be a little bit soft. I thought you were going to see them take a downtick, not only with how explosive they are on offense, but also with the plays that they were able to make on defense, especially in the secondary. But give them credit. The defensive line for the Buffalo Bills really stepped up this past season, definitely in the running game, and I'm sure head coach Sean McDermott, who is a defensive coach, definitely had a little bit to do with that. And Josh Allen was a beast. You guys got that. I don't necessarily think that Josh Allen deserved to be the MVP just by numbers, but when you see what the story was coming into this last season, with all of these experts pretty much picking Buffalo to just like shit the bed pretty much, and they didn't. No wonder they gave the NFL MVP to Josh Allen, because in my personal opinion, when the writers are proven wrong by an NFL player, just like Lamar Jackson has done 2 times being voted as MVP, you gotta go with the guy who proved you wrong, right? Because when you really look at the numbers of it all, Lamar Jackson or Saquon Barkley definitely should have won MVP this year just based on numbers alone. Guys, they set historic marks that we have never seen in the NFL ever. I mean, for Saquon Barkley, okay, he's only the 9th guy ever in NFL history to rush for over 2,000 yards, but he also did it sitting out the last game of the season. And Lamar Jackson, I mean, gosh, what can this guy not do Well, he can't win a playoff game or an AFC championship game is what it seems like, or get to a Super Bowl. But other than that, the guy's putting up a bunch of numbers everywhere. You know what I'm saying? All right, so Gator Travels also wants to know, is Quinn Hughes the best defenseman in the NHL? Hey, you know, he probably is one of the best, Gator, to be honest with you, man. I'm not a big hockey guy, but I have heard of Quinn Hughes, Quinn Hughes, I should say, especially during this Four Nations thing that we've been seeing for a while, and I really do think he is one hell of a defenseman, that's for sure. Zach, thank you so much. Wish you the best too, his brother. Thank you for hanging out here, man. What do you think about the Tampa Bay Lightning? Well, I do think the Lightning are definitely contenders this year. But hey, guys, we're talking some football here, man. Let's get some football questions, but appreciate you, Gator. Jim Bob says Josh Allen is a beast. Hell yeah, that's for sure. And Flyers are the best team in the NHL. Hey, good luck with that, WCW. Appreciate you, man. We got New York RKG said, you should try and become a professional sports analyst, man. You're killing it. Hey, dude, thank you so much. I appreciate the kind comments there, man. It's definitely been a dream of mine, not only to be a broadcaster, but to be an analyst for football, especially for the NFL. I mean, that would be a dream come true. Unfortunately for me, during my upbringing, I wasn't able to afford to go to college or Full Sail like I wanted to try to go for that degree and that sort of thing. But also for me, like, I'm just a hard blue collar worker, just like a lot of people out there in America. And for me, I want to try to work for it. You know what I mean? And for me, it took me so many years to finally build up the courage to follow my dreams and be able to start this YouTube channel. So I'm really hoping with this platform, I can put myself out there more and hopefully get more people not only interested in my channel, but also get get more eyes on what it is I can do. You know, I feel like I can be a great play-by-play broadcaster, but also feel like I could be a great analysis type guy for football. And hopefully one day I can make that other dream come true. But right now, we got to make this YouTube channel happen. And guys, thank you so much for hanging out here on Tim Reynolds Show. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel, as I'm on the road to 1,000 subscribers. And hey, we're hoping to reach that goal by the end of this live stream today. So let's make it happen, Captain. All right, so let's get back over to the salary cap, guys. Now, with the salary cap going up to possibly up to $22 million, this could be a big thing for the NFL going up. And thank you, we got New York City RKG with the sub. Appreciate you, brother. Thank you so much, man. Well, thank you, WCW. All right, so let's get to some other big news that are happening around the NFL right now. As we see some movement happening before we get into the NFL offseason, the Patriots have released linebacker Seun Takaki, who was a big tackler and a big player for them on their defensive staff last season. The Jacksonville Jaguars are still looking for a new general manager, which I think they're going to have a tough time continuing to follow that. To get somebody that's really going to be a good GM for them, I think that's going to be tough for them going forward, without a doubt. We see Pro Bowl center Cam Jurgens for the Philadelphia Eagles underwent a back procedure in Los Angeles to alleviate some nerve pain. So hopefully he's able to make a full recovery and get back for the Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles before training camp starts. All right, guys, so some other big things happening around the NFL. We already mentioned Sheldon Rankins has been released from the Cincinnati Bengals. That saves the Bengals almost $10 million against the cap, $9.618 million to be exact, against the salary cap, so no wonder they made that decision. We also see the New Orleans Saints' new head coach, Kellen Moore, has already found his new defensive coordinator, hiring 49ers assistant Brandon Staley, the former Chargers head coach, to be their next defensive coordinator. I think this is definitely going to be a nice move for Kellen Moore and the New Orleans Saints. Cheers, guys. All right. So after some of those big news and quotes, oh, we got another big breaking news here. The Bears have told veteran tight end Gerald Everett that they plan on releasing him, a move that will free up $5.5 million in salary cap space for the Chicago Bears. I guarantee you tight end Gerald Everett will definitely be a hot commodity in the offseason. The guy had a bit of a down year this year, but he had a rookie quarterback, so that's probably to be expected from the tight end there. Just not enough mouths to feed, if you will, for that Chicago Bears offense. All right, so let's go back up and talk about 32 teams and 32 daring moves that they have here on ESPN. And I got to tell you guys, I don't like a lot of these. I think some of these are really far out moves that they want to try to make here for certain teams. But we're going to go ahead and just go over the title and then tell you guys our opinion of what we think about them, you know? So we start with the AFC East. Blow the Bengals out of the water with a T. Higgins trade offer, as that's what they think the Buffalo Bills should do this upcoming offseason. Now, look, guys, the way Josh Allen's been able to play, I don't think they necessarily need to empty the bank for a guy like T. Higgins, especially if you're the Buffalo Bills. I think there's a lot of other guys out there that you could easily trade for that are a whole lot cheaper than what T. Higgins is going to be, right? For instance, and guys, let me know in the chat what you think about this. I think if the Buffalo Bills wanted to make a big trade for a wide receiver, they should go for either Jets wide receiver Garrett Wilson, which I don't believe the Jets will let go of with their new head coach coming in, or how about Adam Thielen of the Carolina Panthers going to the Buffalo Bills? That's got to be a good matchup in my opinion. I really do think Adam Thielen would have a good connection with quarterback Josh Allen with the Buffalo Bills, and that could be a way better move for the Buffalo Bills than trading for T. Higgins. I don't think you're going to be able to afford what they're going to want for T. Higgins. I mean, maybe at least a second-round pick, if not maybe 2 second-round picks or 2 third-round picks for T. Higgins. They may even be crazy enough to ask for a first-rounder, but I don't see Buffalo trading a first-round pick for T. Higgins to the Cincinnati Bengals. But with that said, Josh Allen does need a number 1 target at the wide receiver position. I mean, Khalil Shakir led all wide receivers for the Buffalo Bills last season with 822 yards receiving. So that means he's definitely going to need somebody else because Shakir is more of a slot guy anyways. And all other wide receivers combined had only about 600 yards or didn't even get over 600 yards by themselves this past season. So wide receiver is definitely going to be a big need for the Buffalo Bills going forward, especially if they're going to compete in that AFC East, which looks to be more competitive this upcoming season, especially with all the head coaching changes we've seen for that division here early on in the NFL offseason. I think we can get somebody better and cheaper for T than T. Hell yeah, I totally agree with you, New York RKG. I think that the Buffalo Bills are a hot team. I think that they're a team that guys are definitely going to want to come to. And honestly, I think that they're going to have a lot of options in free agency. Not to mention, there's a pretty good crop of wide receivers right now that are popping off in the NFL draft. And they're not like top 10 wide receivers going in the draft, which is good for the Buffalo Bills because they're going to be at the end of the first round drafting this year, but there's a lot of guys in the end of the first round and possibly the end of the second or third round that could really help out the Buffalo Bills. And let's not forget about Keelan Coleman, guys. This guy could definitely be at number 1 depending on how he's able to play with his size with Josh Allen in his second year in that system for Buffalo. Zach with the comment says, God bless you. I like your energy, man. Don't give up. One day we're going to see your channel and I support you. Zach, thank you so much, man. Appreciate that, guys. Make sure, guys, you hit that like button and subscribe to the channel as I'm trying to reach my goal of 1,000 subs here on this badass sports entertainment football loving YouTube channel, Tim Reynolds Show. Let's fucking go. All right, guys. So moving on our Friday football talk here as we are in the AFC East, and now we move on to the Miami Dolphins. And Dolphins fans, make sure you chime in the chat and let me know what you think, as they believe here that the Miami Dolphins' big move this offseason, their big bold move, would be to sign Chiefs guard Tyree Smith. And guys, I really do think this could be a big move for the Miami Dolphins, but they have got to find some sort of commitment to the run game like we've seen from them 2 years ago when Raheem Mostert was running all over the place, and that's really what helped open up the passing game for the Miami Dolphins offense. And not only that, that running game is what got them to the playoffs, because their defense wasn't very good a couple years ago. And I did hear a lot of things on social media about the Miami Dolphins players pushing out defensive coordinator Vic Fangio, who went to the Philadelphia Eagles and won a Super Bowl with that franchise. But I'm here to set the record straight for you guys about that, because my brother's a big Miami Dolphins fan, my uncle's a big Miami Dolphins fan, and so is my mom, so I gotta keep up with the team a little bit. And for me, how can you say the Miami Dolphins defense took a step back when they ranked top 5 this year in yards allowed? Does that make any sense? No. You see, the defense did play up to their standard this year. It was the offense for the Miami Dolphins that didn't do their part. When you lose your starting quarterback and you don't have a capable backup, what else are you going to do? I mean, Tyreek Hill had his worst season, I think, of his NFL career since his rookie year. And that's a guy who was voted as the #1 player in the NFL top 100 last offseason. So you got, like, guys, this is my biggest thing with these NFL franchises. They don't think ahead. They don't think about what could happen. They try to go with all these good vibes and all of these, oh, we're doing everything right. Look at how much money we're saving. Look how much cap room we got. Look at all these good rookies we got on rookie contracts. No, like, you need veteran players getting paid to be able to give you a standard on your NFL team of excellence. A standard of, like, hey, if you do your job, you could be like me. You can get a huge contract extension and set your family up for life if you're able to play that good enough on the football field. So I think this could be a very, very big move for the Miami Dolphins. Trey Smith is a Pro Bowler and All-Pro on that offensive line for the Kansas City Chiefs. He's a Super Bowl champion, and the Dolphins were a team that ranked 26 in run block win rate last season at only 69.7%. So if you add Trey Smith, you're definitely not only going to help that running game, but you're also going to help Tua Tagovailoa get way better pass protection than he's been getting the last few seasons. All right, so we're moving on to the New England Patriots, and their big bold move this offseason could be trade quarterback Joe Milton III. Now, if you ask me, I think this could be a big storyline this upcoming offseason, because I do believe that Joe Milton, in the small sample size that we have seen of him, not only in the preseason last year, but also in Week 18, when the rookie showed promise against the Bills' backups with a 72.4 QBR. And not only that, he really knows how to use his legs to not only get receivers open downfield, but also to make plays happen for the offense that he's running. So I think Joe Milton III could be a big guy to look out for this upcoming 2025 NFL offseason. And I really do think there will be a team out there that's willing to give up some draft capital to get him in, not only as a valuable backup quarterback, but we could even see him contend for a starting quarterback job in this league, because, guys, let's face it, there's not enough quarterbacks to go around in the NFL right now, and this upcoming year of quarterbacks in the NFL draft does not look like a lot of top prospects. We have a couple of maybe 2, 3, 4 guys that maybe could be potential starters upcoming in the draft, and I'll definitely get you guys those upcoming draft rankings and and who I think could be the top quarterbacks coming up in the 2025 NFL draft. I'll have that on my YouTube channel within the next couple of months before we get to draft time, obviously. We got the offseason coming up here, so Joe Milton III getting traded to another team that really could be beneficial to the New England Patriots, who have a new head coach now, and getting some more draft capital to help them get some more young players so that we see the new head coach there, Mike Vrabel, can start to build his culture there for the New England Patriots. I definitely think we could see that trade happen. Now here, guys, last team in the AFC East is the New York Jets. And whew, man, I felt bad for your New York Jets fans this past year. I mean, guys, it was just terrible to see how the team played. They fired their head coach after only a few weeks into the season, and it definitely did not get better from there. But right now, the big bold move for the New York Jets heading into the 2025 NFL offseason could be to trade wide receiver Garrett Wilson. Now, I don't believe that this is going to be possible because they're not going to keep Davante Adams, and more than likely, Allen Lazard will also be a cap casualty, as I believe they'll probably cut him, release him, or trade him to try to help get their cap number down, especially with a new head coach, a new regime there for New York. They're going to try to be looking at a lot of guys in the NFL free agency pool to bring into the New York Jets to try to help build that culture that Aaron Glenn wants to build there in New York. All right, we got another comment here from New York CRKG. I know this ain't a topic, but do you think Travis Hunter will fall out of the top 10? All right, NYC, there is no way in hell Travis Hunter's falling out of the top 10. If Travis Hunter falls out of the top 5, I would almost guarantee you that either with the 6th, 7th, or 8th pick, without even getting to 9 or 10, someone is trading up to get Travis Hunter. Or one of those teams are just going to draft him. You can't pass on a guy that has this sort of talent. He can play on both sides of the ball, for crying out loud, and I did hear that he will be going to the NFL Combine as a defensive back, but man, this guy's going to be like the Devin Hester, but he's going to be like Devin Hester 2.0 if you ask me. Maybe can return kicks, so maybe you won't see him as a return guy, but Travis Hunter is going to be a star in the NFL, in my opinion, man. He is one of those can't miss prospects right now in the 2025 NFL draft, if you ask me. But great question there, NYC RKG. Appreciate you, man. So going back to the New York Jets, guys, trading wide receiver Garrett Wilson may be a good move for them because they could probably get a lot back for that young wide receiver, but I just don't see that happening, guys. I am more than likely going to see Davante Adams and Allen Lazard cut or released or traded from this Jets team. So what are they going to do? They're going to release their number one guy and have nobody at wide receiver? I mean, you might as well just say the Jets are going to tank right now if they trade Garrett Wilson after letting go of Davante Adams and Allen Lazard, because I can guarantee you this, Davante Adams and Allen Lazard will not be on the New York Jets next year. I don't know what teams they will be on, but they most certainly won't be on the Jets. So I think this move, trading Garrett Wilson, would be a bad move for the New York Jets franchise. All right, guys, moving on to the AFC North as we talk about the Baltimore Ravens. And the big bold move for them here is to double up at cornerback. As we see, they were struggling a little bit through the first part of the season in this secondary, giving up the most passing yards in the NFL all the way till I think about week 9 before they were able to turn things around, or maybe it was week 11. I'm not sure, but I know the second half of the season, the defense really stepped up for Baltimore, and that's what helped them get them into the playoffs this season. So definitely like this idea. Why not try to get more defensive back help, especially with how many injuries they've dealt with in that secondary over the last few years? And Nate Wiggins has been playing very, very well. Marlon Humphrey has proved himself to be one of the best defensive backs in the NFL today, but he's got to stay healthy though too. And not only that, their secondary with the big guy, number 14 there, where they moved to safety, Hamilton. That guy really balled out this year, and he's a beast. But They say right here they could be looking at possibly Buffalo's Rasul Douglas. That could be a very good fit for the Baltimore Ravens secondary, especially with veteran coach Chuck Pagano returning to the NFL and will be on the Baltimore Ravens where he's coached before. He will be a senior secondary coach there on the defensive side of the ball. And because of that, I really do like the fact, hey, let's bring in some more veteran guys here for this secondary because they're going to love working with Chuck Pagano, man. That guy's a great coach. Also, another guy to keep in mind could be Jets' DJ Reed, who's been pretty good for that New York Jets secondary, and that could be a very good free agent for the Baltimore Ravens to sign. But look, my biggest thing with the Baltimore Ravens is this. I love the fact last year they picked up Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry is a perfect fit for this Baltimore Ravens offense. But where is the number one wide receiver? Lamar Jackson has been begging for a number one wide receiver for this Baltimore Ravens team. And they've never gone out and signed anyone besides OBJ last season. And that didn't turn out great. So they really need to find a number one guy in NFL free agency. I don't think you go out there and draft a guy to be the number one target here for this Baltimore Ravens team. I don't think you trust a rookie to do that. I know Rashad Bateman's been playing really, really well for the Baltimore Ravens wide receiving core, but I just don't think he's that number one guy for Lamar. For instance, and guys, let me know what you think about this in the chat. How much better would the Baltimore Ravens be if they signed a veteran wide receiver like DeAndre Hopkins? I think that's a perfect fit for Baltimore. I think D-Hop going to Baltimore, that's going to be a great situation for Baltimore. If they're able to land a guy like that, I really do think that D-Hop to the Ravens. Let me know what you guys think about that in the chat. I think that's going to be one of the better acquisitions for them to make if they want a chance to compete when they get into the playoffs, because they need more offensive firepower. They need to be able to take the pressure off of Baltimore Ravens quarterback Lamar Jackson and try to get it to their playmakers. You know what I mean? What's up, man? We got a Pack fan in the house. How do you feel about the Green Bay Packers? Well, all right, man. The Green Bay Packers. Let's scroll down to them. Now, look, I like Green Bay. I love what the head coach there has been able to do. I love Jordan Love. I think he's definitely one of the franchise quarterbacks right now in the NFL. But, man, there has been a lot of rumors about them cutting veteran cornerback Jameer Alexander, and I just think that would be a very bad move for them. Why are you going to get rid of one of, if not your best defensive player right now, especially with how young that defense is for Green Bay? And that's what they got going in their favor right now. The Green Bay Packers, they're young. They have a lot of guys on rookie deals that should help them in their salary cap situation. But I think I got to sort of say the same thing for them that I would say for Baltimore. You need a number one guy at wide receiver. I like the wide receiving core that they have. There's a lot of playmakers on there, but there's not a guy that you would say is a number one guy. Now, Christian Watson has got that breakout speed, and he's able to go up and catch balls, but he can't stay healthy, and there's a good possibility that he's going to miss most of next season after tearing his ACL late in the season here this past NFL season. So, to answer your question there, Pack fan, I feel the Green Bay Packers have a bright future, but they really need to make the right moves if they legitimately want to be contenders here coming up next season. Now, they're going to have to deal with the salary cap, which is going to be tough for them going forward. But I really do think if they're able to keep Alexander and also keep that young defense intact pretty much for the most part, if you just add a number one guy at wide receiver, I think you're going to be pretty good if you're Green Bay this upcoming season. So thank you for the question there, man. NYC's RKG says that would be the greatest move in sports history. D-Hop to the Ravens? You think that'd be the greatest move in sports history? Come on, man. You know better than that, bro. I mean, come on. We just seen Luka Doncic. You know what I mean? Well, I hope I didn't just blew my light. That would suck. All right, thank you, everybody. Let's get back to the AFC North, and now we'll go over the Cincinnati Bengals. And for me, the Bengals, man, they definitely have got to do something with Trey Hendrickson. Now, I would re-sign him. I mean, why wouldn't you re-sign the guy who led the league in sacks last year? But to help their salary cap situation, I do like this bold move, as it says trade defensive end Trey Hendrickson, because I do think you can get a lot back for him if you're able to find someone willing to pay a lot for a defensive end, which, hey, every NFL team right now really needs pass rushers, right? So he's going to be a hot commodity if you put him on the trade market. He turns 31 years old next season, so I guess that's maybe more of a reason why they should do that. But this is going to be really interesting to see what they do after he led the league last year with 17.5 sacks in 2024 and was second in the league in win pass rush rate. So honestly, for me, I still cannot believe for the Cincinnati Bengals that they had the leading wide receiver in the NFL in receiving yards and receiving touchdowns and catches. They had the leading quarterback in pass down throws this past year. And you also had a guy on defense that led the league in sacks, and you still couldn't make the playoffs? Like, how are you supposed to get any better from that? You know what I'm saying? Like, if you're the Bengals this upcoming year, you got to get that defense right, man. Your offense can put up points with just about anybody, but you got to be able to stop people, especially in the postseason, if you want a chance at all. You know what I mean? Kevin in the chat says, Cowboys 2026 Super Bowl champions. Yeah, right. And yeah, that's fair. Let me rephrase Ravens history. Hey, it could be. I think I'd have to agree with you for that, NYC. All right, so now we're moving on to the Cleveland Browns, and this is a big, bold statement, right? Do not trade Myles Garrett. Like, no fucking duh. Like, what are you saying to your fan base if you trade the best player on your franchise right now? With how bad the Cleveland Browns have been last season, but also the fact they made the playoffs 2 years ago, guys. They legitimately did with Joe Flacco, with head coach Kevin Stefanski being a two-time head coach of the year in the NFL. So what's their problem? They got to get rid of Deshaun Watson. That's really their only problem. Their defense has been playing pretty good for Cleveland the past 2 years, but Myles Garrett is just sick of this, man. You're going to pay Deshaun Watson all this money for what? For what? The guy has not done anything for you if you're the Cleveland Browns. And honestly, if it wasn't for how big his contract is, I would say you just release the guy. I mean, you're not going to probably find a trade for him right now, although there is a lot of desperate teams out there that are in need for a quarterback, especially a veteran quarterback. Now, I'm not saying Deshaun Watson's willing to go be a backup quarterback somewhere, but does he really have much options left? I mean, he's not going to be ready at the start of the season, so Cleveland is already going to have to look at another starting quarterback to start the season for them because Deshaun Watson re-injured his Achilles, so he's not going to be able to start at the beginning of the season. So we need to see a Massage Watson and Justin Tugger duo first. Oh man, NYC RKG, dude. Oh man, that's funny, dude. That is funny right there. Guys, thanks for hanging out here on the Tim Reynolds Show. Please make sure you guys hit that like button and subscribe to the channel as I'm trying to get to 1,000 subs here on my YouTube channel. That is the goal for this live stream, and we're almost done here with our Friday football talk, so we want to keep going here. Like I said, Cleveland, you got a lot of needs this upcoming year, man. You got to make sure your offensive line is intact and healthy. Get Nick Chubb back into a healthy form, running the ball like you know you can do with that offense. But also, like, you've got to be able to keep Myles Garrett. I don't care how or what way you do it. You have got to keep him. And if you don't, you better get a king's ransom back for Myles Garrett. I'm talking like at least 2 first-round picks for Myles Garrett if you're going to trade him to somebody. But who knows, man? Who knows, right? I I will say this, though, a comp to pay attention to in this Myles Garrett situation, if he is to get traded by the Cleveland Browns, which I don't believe they will do, I just think that'll be a stupid move for them. But if Cleveland does move on from Myles Garrett, look for maybe the same thing that at the time, Oakland Raiders got for trading Khalil Mack to the Chicago Bears. That could be a good start here as far as maybe what they're looking to get for Myles Garrett in return in a trade. All right, guys, so going to now the last team in the NFC North, the Pittsburgh Steelers, and man, this is a big, bold statement for them, but I would love this move if you're a Pittsburgh Steelers fan. Trade for quarterback Matthew Stafford? Hell yeah! Do that in a heartbeat. If there's one thing this Pittsburgh Steelers team has been lacking, it has been consistency at the quarterback position the last 2 years, if not 3 years in a row, since Ben Roethlisberger retired. They need a guy, a veteran-savvy guy, who's going to come in there, lead that offense, lead that locker room by example. And don't get me wrong, I thought Russell Wilson was a good addition for Pittsburgh last year. I mean, he helped them getting into the playoffs, right? But at the same time, he's not as good as he used to be, and I think Matthew Stafford proved, even though he's 37 years old, that he's still got a lot left in that arm, and man, I think he really could help the Pittsburgh Steelers get to that next level. Jamie, what's going on, man? Welcome to the chat. Congratulations to your Philadelphia Eagles. Go Birds, man. Super Bowl 59 champs. So yeah, I really do think that the Pittsburgh Steelers could look at a veteran quarterback, maybe even possibly quarterback Aaron Rodgers could go to Pittsburgh. I think that could be a good fit between him and longtime coach Mike Tomlin, but we'll have to wait and see. I think Matthew Stafford getting traded to there would definitely be a lot better for Pittsburgh going forward. All right, so now we're going to start here in the AFC South. The Houston Texans trade for Garrett Wilson. Now, I don't personally think this is possible. I don't think the Jets should trade Garrett Wilson because then they're going to lose all three of their top wide receivers because I don't think Allen Lazard's going to be back next year, and I definitely do not think that we're going to have a Devontae Adams in a New York Jets uniform next season as well. What's up, Prank New TV? Thank you, man. Please make sure you guys subscribe to the channel. Thank you for all the support, guys. Don't forget to hit that like button. So, yeah, for the Houston Texans, trading for Garrett Wilson, that's not a bold statement at all because it's not going to happen. More than likely, we're going to see them try to re-sign Stephon Diggs. I think they'll try to get him on maybe like a one-year deal because he's coming off of that big injury. But there's a lot of guys that they could look at possibly. Adam Thielen's a guy I think could fit really, really well there for the Houston Texans in that offense. But for the Houston Texans, though, I was really interested to see the news that they let go of their offensive coordinator, Brian Solik, and I hope I pronounced his name right, but I don't think the play calling was necessarily the problem last year for that offense. So the fact that they fired their offensive coordinator, I thought was actually a bad move by Houston because the offensive line just sucks last year, dude. Like, they could not pass protect to protect C.J. Stroud to save their lives. You know what I'm saying? So I think that was wrong of them to put that all on the offensive coordinator's shoulders. So hopefully the new guy coming in can understand, hey, you have got to prove this offensive line if the Houston Texans are going to go anywhere next year. So for me, their big bold move is they need to get the offensive line right if they want a chance here to compete in the AFC South, which they've dominated the last 2 seasons. Pitt needs a QB and wide receiver 2, D-line, O-line. Yeah, Jamie, they do have a lot of needs. That would be, that is for sure. Stafford would be huge for Pittsburgh. Aaron Rodgers should retire, man. He ain't Tom Brady. Yeah, you know what? Listen, NYC, I agree with you on that. He's no Tom Brady. But there is such bad quarterback play going on in the NFL. There has got to be at least 3 or 4 teams that would sign Aaron Rodgers. Like, for instance, and I'll just spitball this one because he's got a connection with the franchise a little bit, and I think they're so needy at the quarterback position that you could see him sign with the Tennessee Titans. Aaron Rodgers has a home in Tennessee, so this could be a big signing for the Tennessee Titans next year. I mean, what are the Titans going to do, right? At least if you sign Aaron Rodgers, you get a veteran guy in there to help out quarterback Will Levis with his development to see if he's really going to end up being anything because he's only got 2 years left on his contract. And not only that, if you bring him in and he's able to help you win at least 5 more games. That's a big improvement if you're the Tennessee Titans because they got the #1 overall pick this year. All right, guys, so Indianapolis Colts, moving on to them here in the AFC South. Load up the interior linemen in the draft. I think this is a great idea, a good bold prediction there for the Indianapolis Colts. They don't have a lot of cap room right now for possibly some big free agents in the offseason, so getting some good interior linemen in the draft is definitely going to be key to them to be able to compete next year in 2025. Especially with center Ryan Kelly and also right guard Will Fries are expected to become free agents this upcoming offseason. And guys, you have got to get better protection for Anthony Richardson. You have got to allow him to be able to stand in the pocket and get the ball out to his playmakers because they do not need this man running the football anymore for them because honestly, man, I think he's a bit of a bust right now. And besides what he does with his legs, he's got to get better at throwing the ball and reading defenses if he's going to be a starting quarterback in this league. All right, we got some more comments popping off here in the chat. Thank you, guys. Jamie wants to know, will the Bucs re-sign Chris Godwin? Yes, yes, yes. Lavonte David and Chris Godwin are the 2 biggest possible offseason acquisitions, or I should say re-signees for the Bucs coming up here in the offseason. There we go. It's got a bit more light there. Not too bad. Yeah, and I think if they want a chance to compete this year, they're definitely going to need to re-sign both of those guys. If Lavonte David chooses to come back. Now, Lavonte David could retire. And honestly, it would not surprise me one bit if he chooses to do that. He's still going to go down as one of the best linebackers ever to play in the NFL, in my opinion. And he doesn't get enough credit, man. He just doesn't get enough credit for what he does. And as a matter of fact, I want to bring this up real quick. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers linebacker, Lavonte David, did something last year that no other linebacker did in the NFL. As we see, Lavonte David finished with 100+ tackles, 3+ forced fumbles, and 5+ sacks last year. The only player in 2024 to record those numbers. Okay? And yet, this guy doesn't get voted to the All-Pro. This guy doesn't get voted to the Pro Bowl. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? The disrespect that is not only given to wide receiver Mike Evans, but also linebacker Lavonte David has got to stop. Has got to stop. All right, so before we move on to the Jacksonville Jaguars, we got some more comments in the chat to go over here. Jamie says, Zach Braun and Mekhi Becton are top priorities. Yeah, I think you could get Mekhi Becton probably on a pretty good extension or a pretty good contract, if you could say, to help keep him around. Why wouldn't he want to stay there? Maybe take a little bit less money to stay in Philly than he would get on the open market. But he kind of renewed his career playing the guard position rather than the tackle position, which he struggled with in New York. So Zach Braun's going to be the big one, though, Jamie. He's going to demand a very, very high contract with how good he played last year, and he's not taking no discount. He's going to get a top-paid linebacker contract, especially with him being in the Defensive Player of the Year conversation last year. New York C wants to know, NYC wants to know, who are the best free agents in your opinion? Whew! Man, the best free agents in my opinion? You know, NYC, I think it's too early to really say because right now there are some guys that could potentially become free agents depending on what their teams do with their contract situation. Like, for instance, right now off the top of my head, if I have to give you my best free agent, has got to be guard Tyree Smith for the Kansas City Chiefs. He's an all-pro guard, and everybody needs offensive linemen, right? We also got I believe could be a big free agent if he becomes a free agent, but more than likely he'll probably be traded. But Devontae Adams, a wide receiver for the New York Jets, I think could be a very, very big free agent if he's let go from his contract, but more than likely he'll probably be traded. So we'll have to wait and see on that one, man. So NYC, tune in to Tim Reynolds Show. I'll be back live on one of these other Fridays talking about this. We'll definitely be getting into not only NFL free agency in the next couple of weeks, but also I'll be getting my NFL draft content on my channel, going over who I think the top prospects will be. Probably for each position, I'll probably do, like a top 10 quarterback, top 10 wide receivers, or maybe even top 5 just to try to limit the overall time of the video. But yeah, we got more to come though, man. Hell yeah, Jamie, I would love to be a guest on Tom Grossi's stream. And guys, as a matter of fact, do not forget to check out Tom Grossi, man. What he's doing right now, trying to get to not only 1 million subscribers, but to raise $1 million for charity. Like, clap, applaud that guy, man. That guy is a hero of mine. He helped inspire me to start my own YouTube channel. So definitely one of those guys I really respect. And you know what? Dude, I've asked. I'll tell you this. I keep asking. And you know what, chat? Make sure you spam Tom Grossi. Maybe we'll get him to contact us one day. I would love to be on Tom Grossi's YouTube channel one day. And I tell you, that day when I make it there, dude, when I'm on Tom Grossi, or I get to be on a show like Pat McAfee show as well, who I love, and he's definitely been an inspiration to me. Guys, it's going to be amazing, man, and I can't wait. So thank you guys so much for all your support here on Tim Reynolds Show. So let's go back here to the Jacksonville Jaguars and their bold prediction here for this NFL offseason coming up. Draft a tackle at number 5. I definitely think that this could be a big need for the Jacksonville Jaguars, especially at the left tackle position. I really do think that they're going to need to really make sure they pick the right guy, because they did draft right tackle Antoine Harrison in 2023 in the first round, and he's only got about 2 or 3 years left on his contract, depending on whether or not they want to pick up his 5th-year option, but he hasn't really separated himself as being a legitimate starting tackle here in the NFL with the Jacksonville Jaguars. Batman or Spider-Man? Hell, dude. Really? Really? How about both, man? I mean, come on, dude. Like, Punisher's my favorite. Punisher is absolutely my favorite. But Batman and Spider-Man are close second favorites for me as far as my favorite superheroes, man. But thank you so much. Jamie wants to know, is Jalen Hurts a top 5 quarterback? Well, he is a Super Bowl champion. I think if you're starting a franchise, you definitely want him. You know what, Jamie, it pains me to say this because I think he deserves it, but I don't know if I would put him in the top 5 quarterback conversation. I think definitely top 10. Definitely top 10 quarterback, that's for sure. Hey, what's up, Gamecock fan? Haven't seen you in a while, man. Hope you have a great day as well. Thank you for hanging out in the chat. Appreciate you guys. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel as I'm trying to reach my goal of 1,000 subscribers on my YouTube channel. Let's fucking go. It's Tim Reynolds Show. All right, guys. So for the Jacksonville Jaguars, I do like drafting a tackle at the number 5 position. As far as free agency, they're not going to have a lot of cap room for a lot of free agents, but I definitely think they could improve their linebacking core on the defensive side of the ball. I think that's also another big need heading into the offseason for the Jacksonville Jaguars. And then, guys, the Tennessee Titans' big bold move is do not select a quarterback at number 1. Okay, but they need a quarterback. But this goes back to my statement earlier. I really do think that Aaron Rodgers will be signed by the Tennessee Titans this offseason, or just maybe you could possibly see them go for a guy like a Russell Wilson, or maybe even pay a big money for a guy like Sam Darnold. I think that could be a big move for the Tennessee Titans, as I believe their head coach is definitely looking for a veteran guy to run the offense there for Tennessee. But when you have Abdul Carter, a premier pass rusher coming out of the University of Penn State, or I should say Penn State University, You can't pass on a guy like that. And most people believe that Abdul Carter is the #1 overall guy in this draft coming up here in 2025. But also, Travis Hunter? I mean, Travis Hunter to the Tennessee Titans, that'd be a pretty good fit if you ask Tennessee Titans fans out there. So I do like this bold prediction. Don't select a quarterback with #1. If anything, we could possibly see the Tennessee Titans trade that pick, maybe move down to #2 or #3 and let them draft a quarterback, and then they get the best overall player available that's still there, either at #2 or #3, depending on what the Titans want to do. But you know they're going to be looking for some more draft capital as well. All right, so we are moving on to the AFC West, and we're talking about the Denver Broncos. And their big bold prediction here is to trade up to draft running back Alshon Jeudy. And man, would that not be such a great move for Jeudy, who would go from the Boise State Broncos to the Denver Broncos? And this running back is definitely Sean Payton's type of guy. Look what he was able to do with Alvin Kamara, also Reggie Bush, and even Mark Ingram down there in New Orleans. He is definitely a guy that can bring out the best in an elusive, kind of use running back. But Gentry's such a good runner though as well. And not only that, he can catch the ball out of the backfield. To me, Gentry, when you put him with Sean Payton, I think you're going to get like a Deuce McAllister type running back, which would be perfect for Denver heading up into this next season, because that's really the only thing they need to improve on their offense. Maybe get another playmaker at wide receiver. I do still believe that Cortland Sutton could be a #1 wide receiver for this offense, but they're going to need some guys to help him there in that wide receiving core. But drafting Alshon Jeudy, the backup, or I should say the runner-up for the Heisman Trophy this past season, could be very big for them this upcoming offseason. So I do like that bold prediction for the Denver Broncos. Yeah, man. I think if Jalen Hurts would have won that first Super Bowl with the Eagles against Patrick Mahomes and then had this one, I think you definitely could put Hurts into the top 5 quarterback conversation. I just think there's at least 5 guys that I would put ahead of him. You know, I mean, maybe you have him as number 6 or 7, you know, as far as quarterbacks in the league right now, but he's definitely one of the better quarterbacks in the league, quarterback Jalen Hurts. And all right, so we're moving on here to the Kansas City Chiefs, and this has got to be the dumbest bold prediction of them all, dude. I mean, for real. And the first start of the sentence even says, this would be a very unpopular move. Like, yeah, no shit. Cut tight end Travis Kelce. I'm sorry, what? If somebody has the balls to cut tight end Travis Kelce, a future Hall of Famer, a guy who has been the foundation piece for the Kansas City Chiefs franchise for years. That has got to be the stupidest thing I've ever heard. This guy should be able to go off into the sunset and retire when he's ready to retire, but this guy should get a lifetime contract with the Chiefs. For what he's brought to you guys, the only guy that has literally been better than him, if you're going to really compare, is Patrick Mahomes. And Patrick Mahomes has still not put up the numbers that we've seen Travis Kelce put over the last 3 or 4 years. Now, last season was a bit of a downtick for Travis Kelce. I understand that. He's getting a little bit older, but man, you just gave this guy a contract extension last offseason. Keep him around till the end of his contract or for as long as he wants to play, because as long as tight end Travis Kelce is on the same team as Patrick Mahomes, that Kansas City Chiefs offense is always going to be tough for anybody to guard. I don't care who you are. So cutting tight end Travis Kelce, that's got to be the stupidest move, the stupidest bold move that could happen in this AFC West here. Now, we're definitely going to see the Chiefs need to draft some offensive linemen. They're definitely going to need a tackle, and they're definitely going to need to try to help out their pass rush as well heading into this offseason. That's just my opinion. All right, now we're going up to the Las Vegas Raiders, And their big bold prediction here is trade up in the draft for quarterback Shedeur Sanders. And yes, this has got to be the best fit in every single prospect I've seen throughout the NFL draft. Shedeur Sanders going to the Las Vegas Raiders is perfect. I think Pete Carroll is the perfect coach to help develop Shedeur Sanders into a really, really good quarterback, and I really do think he will be a great NFL quarterback. And hey, the Raiders have had such bad quarterback play over the last 2 years. This could be the best move their franchise has made in a very, very long time, so I'm definitely on board with this. Right now, the Raiders do have the number 6 pick in the draft, and I do think they could definitely be a candidate to possibly trade up to the number 1 overall pick with the Tennessee Titans, or at least trade into the top 5 to be able to get Shedeur Sanders. Now, a lot of people have Cam Ward as the number 1 quarterback going off the board to the New York Giants in this draft, but I really do think that, that move there, okay, I like Shedeur Sanders with the Raiders. I just think he fits them better than probably Cam Ward's going to fit with that culture or with head coach Pete Carroll there for the Raiders. And then, guys, moving on to the Los Angeles Chargers here, our last team in the AFC. Trade for Tyreek Hill. Now, this could be a big haul for the Chargers if they're able to make this happen, but if they're somehow able to put Quentin Johnston, who's been a little bit overwhelming since he's came into the league, or I should say underwhelming since he came into the league, I think if you put Quentin Johnston in this deal, you put in maybe a couple of second-round picks or maybe a 2 and a 3, you should be able to get Tyreek Hill, especially if the Chargers are willing to give a first-round pick. I think Miami would definitely have to consider that, especially with Tyreek Hill's off the field situation right now. The way the season ended for him was not good either. So this could definitely be a big move for the Chargers. I just don't really think it's going to happen, to be honest with you guys. I would probably expect the Chargers to look at a veteran guy in free agency to be the number 1 wide receiver for this team, but they also got to get a lot of pieces worked out on the defensive side of the ball as well. So, guys, moving on here to the NFC East, the Dallas Cowboys, their big bold move is to extend Ron Bland, which I definitely think DaRon Bland is one of the better cornerbacks in the league right now, even though he missed most of 2024 with injuries. Still, his 2023 performance proves that he deserves to get a long-term contract, with Dallas, but it's going to be really interesting to see if Dallas is able to pay this guy what he supposedly has earned and should be paid. Whew. Got the hiccups. All right. So, yeah, for the Dallas Cowboys, this is going to be tough for them, though. They're coming into an offseason where they just lost an all-pro guard to retirement. They have to sign Micah Parsons, and he's going to get a huge contract from the Dallas Cowboys. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens going forward for them. I don't have a lot of faith right now in what the Dallas Cowboys are going to be able to do. I mean, they had a lot more opportunities to do some stuff last offseason, and they didn't, besides paying their guys way, way later than they should have. So, I mean, if they wait on paying Micah Parsons all the way into the start of the season, just like they did with wide receiver CeeDee Lamb and quarterback Dak Prescott, I think that's going to be the worst move they can make, is not get Parsons signed quicker. They need to get him signed as quick as possible, because the quicker you're able to sign Micah Parsons, the lower the contract's going to be for him. So moving on, guys, to the New York Giants and their big, bold statement, because we've heard rumors about this on social media, is do not trade for quarterback Matthew Stafford. Now, we all know the New York Giants really do need a quarterback. But more than likely, they're going to draft a guy, because that's what's going to help this general manager and head coach be able to keep their jobs, hopefully past this next season. Because let's face it, if they have another abysmal year, Brian Daboll's gone. And that general manager, I don't even know his name, but he should definitely already be fired based on what Saquon Barkley did for the Philadelphia Eagles in their own division. You should be fired for that, bro. I don't know how he still has a job, but I like this. Don't trade for quarterback Matthew Stafford. Maybe don't even try to go for a veteran guy. I don't think Sam Darnold's really going to work out there, because we've already seen the Sam Darnold experience in New York, if you will. So drafting Cam Ward, I think, is probably the best bet for the New York Giants heading into this offseason. And then we see here, for the Philadelphia Eagles, the reigning defending Super Bowl champions, trade defensive end Bryce Huff. Bryce Huff was a little underwhelming this year after getting a huge contract from the Philadelphia Eagles last offseason, where this season he only ended up with 2.5 sacks in the regular season. So with his big cap number, you definitely would like to try to find a trade partner for him, which is going to help the Philadelphia Eagles with their cap situation because they have a lot of guys that they're going to want to re-sign coming up in this offseason. So I think this could be very beneficial for the Philadelphia Eagles, trading defensive end Bryce Huff. Now, the question is, where are you going to find a trade partner for him, especially with his down production last year? It's going to be tough, but maybe a 4th or 5th round pick trade for him. I could see that happening, especially for somebody who needs serious pass rush help. And now, guys, moving on in the NFC East to the Washington Commanders, who were able to make it all the way to the NFC Championship game, which really surprised a lot of people this season. And their big, bold move this upcoming offseason, trade for wide receiver Cooper Kupp. This could be one hell of a move for Washington, as if they're able to get Cooper Kupp lined up with Terry McLaurin, especially keeping, hopefully, veteran tight end Zach Ertz on that offense. I really do think you're going to have an explosive offense for this Washington Commanders football team, and I think going forward, that's definitely going to help out quarterback Jaden Daniels, who is the defending NFL Rookie of the Year, and I think they're going to be able to build off that, but it's the defense that they're definitely going to have to keep their eyes on in the offseason, but with how much cap room they got, expect head coach Dan Quinn to sign a lot of veteran guys on that defense, and they'll probably lean pretty heavily on the defensive side of the ball in the 2025 NFL Draft. But hey, if they're able to trade for Cooper Kupp, I really do think that he should fit in that offense pretty damn well for the Washington Commanders. Then, guys, going to the NFC North, we got the Chicago Bears, and their big, bold move this upcoming offseason could be build a pass rush. Now, this could be pretty interesting if you ask me, because they had a lot of guys that you would have thought would have definitely helped out this pass rush here, especially with Montez Sweat. But he actually had a bit of a down year last year, and they just signed him to a contract extension last offseason. So maybe if they can find a trade partner for Montez Sweat, help get that cap number off their books, that could really be beneficial to them and the Chicago Bears. There's going to be a lot of guys in free agency to probably look at for possible pass rush help, but maybe even Bryce Huff, a trade with the Philadelphia Eagles to get him on their team could be pretty big. But look for the Chicago Bears to lean heavily on the defensive side of the ball, not only this offseason, but also in the NFL Draft. But they definitely need help along the offensive line. So for me, I don't really like this bold prediction. Building a pass rush is not going to really be able to do much, I believe, good for the Chicago Bears going forward. I think if they're able to get that offensive line sorted out and then find maybe a couple of veteran savvy guys on lower contracts to help out that pass rush, that would probably be the direction I think the Chicago Bears should do going into the 2025 offseason here. And guys, thank you for hanging out here on Tim Reynolds Show. Please make sure you guys like and subscribe to the channel. Hit that like button for this live stream as I'm trying to reach my goal of 1,000 subs right here on my YouTube channel. All right, guys, moving on to the next team in the NFC North, the Detroit Lions. And man, after such a disappointing showing in the playoffs this past year, what do the Detroit Lions really need to do to improve themselves, right? Besides trying to stay healthy. Whoa, when Aiden Hutchinson went out for this pass rush, that really hurt the Detroit Lions defense, I thought, for the most part, because they had to try to cover people longer in that secondary that really wasn't doing that well throughout this year, especially when Carlton Davis went out at corner for the Detroit Lions defense. But their big bold prediction would be trade for Myles Garrett. And man, this could be one of the biggest moves we've ever seen in an NFL offseason. If the Detroit Lions are somehow, some way able to trade for Myles Garrett, that's a game changer if you ask me, guys. That puts the Detroit Lions right at the top as Super Bowl contenders, especially NFC Championship contenders, because when you have Aiden Hutchinson on one side and Myles Garrett on the other side, whoo, That's going to be one hell of a pass rush to have to deal with if you face the Detroit Lions. Sanders is a bust. Hey, man, we don't know that yet, dude. We got to wait and see. We can't be calling him a bust if he ain't even made it and played in the league yet. You know what I'm saying? But hey, Jim Bob Jones, understand your opinion there, man. Shadow, welcome to the chat. Thank you, NYCRKG, for hanging out here. And now, guys, our next team is the Green Bay Packers. We already mentioned them a little bit earlier. Their big poll prediction is don't cut Jameer Alexander. Now, even though cutting him would really help them in their salary cap situation, I think right now with how young that defense is for Green Bay, you want to try to keep a veteran-savvy guy like Jameer Alexander who shows up every game day. I know there's a little bit of the offseason hoopla, if you will, with him, but honestly, I think he's a very good veteran guy for that defense. And hey, I know he's dealt with some injuries, but the guy has, anytime he's been on the field, he's played very, very well for Green Bay. So you got to keep him around if you're Green Bay. Some needs, though, heading into the offseason for Green Bay. Definitely going to need to look at the offensive line. Definitely need a wide receiver one, kind of like the Baltimore Ravens do. And they are going to need to try to help out the secondary a little bit for that young defense. And then, guys, here, going up next is the Minnesota Vikings, and their big, bold prediction is sign quarterback Sam Darnold to a long-term contract and trade J.J. McCarthy for picks. Who's coming up with these bold predictions? Because this one has got to be the most absurd of them all. Sam Darnold in the biggest games last year just didn't show up, man. Now, I know we can maybe put that on the offensive line. They did not protect him as well as they had throughout the whole season near the end of the season. So maybe if the Vikings are able to also address the offensive line, then maybe you could bring back Sam Darnold and possibly have the same success that you had last year. But I don't think necessarily that's going to be the case, and I think J.J. McCarthy is your future. If you ask me, and guys, tell me what you think about this. Aaron Rodgers going to the Minnesota Vikings actually makes a lot of sense. They'll be able to get him on a little bit of a lower contract, I believe, which helps them in the salary cap department. And that means J.J. McCarthy can sit behind an even bigger veteran, a future NFL Hall of Famer, and learn a lot, I feel like, from Aaron Rodgers. And as soon as J.J. comes back fully healthy, even if Aaron Rodgers is not playing good enough or not working out, you could definitely put J.J. in halfway through the season and see what he's able to do for you. I do think it's going to be a bit of a down year for the Minnesota Vikings coming up next season, just based on all the success they had this past season, but you can't count them out, man. And one other guy to also keep in mind for the Minnesota Vikings is Daniel Jones. They did sign him and had him on the roster in the playoffs there towards the end of the season. So he could possibly be a candidate for them to be their starting quarterback because you're more than likely going to get him on a cheap contract as well. All right, guys, so now we're moving to my division, the NFC South. And we're starting off with the Atlanta Falcons, and I could not agree with this statement more so for the player than actually the franchise as far as improving the Atlanta Falcons. They definitely need to trade tight end Kyle Pitts. I think this is a great bold prediction for them this upcoming offseason because this guy has too much talent to be only putting up. Pitts only caught 47 passes last year. He's still got 600 and something yards and 4 touchdowns off of those 47 passes that he caught. But this guy is a playmaker in this league, and I just don't understand how the Atlanta Falcons keep screwing this up. They're doing the same with Bijan Robinson right now. Like, feed your playmakers the ball. If the Atlanta Falcons would have fed tight end Kyle Pitts the way, let's say, the Las Vegas Raiders fed rookie tight end Brock Bowers last year, you would have had yourselves definitely a playoff spot. I really do think the Atlanta Falcons would have made the playoffs if they would have got the ball to Kyle Pitts more and tried to control the clock a little bit better, handing the ball off constantly to Bijan Robinson. But you know what? some of these NFL franchises or even coaching staffs, I don't know what the hell gets in their head where they don't call more simpler plays for their offense. It's not that difficult, man. Play to the strengths of your playmakers on your team, and that's what's going to win you ball games. You know what I mean? But they got to get the defensive side straightened out, though, for if you're the Atlanta Falcons. They had a lot of pretty decent big names on that defense last year, and still were not good enough on both sides of the ball to be able to make the playoffs. So it's going to be a really interesting offseason for the Atlanta Falcons coming up. And guys, thank you so much for hanging out here on Tim Reynolds Show. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel as I'm on the road to 1,000 subscribers on Tim Reynolds Show. Let's make it happen, Cabin. Let's go on Tim Reynolds Show. All right, guys, next up, the Carolina Panthers, and their big bold prediction heading into the offseason would be to double up on the pass rush, and man, they definitely need to do this as they were 31st in the NFL last year in pass rush win rate at only 28%, and man, they definitely have got to get better with their pass rush if they want any chance of being able to compete in this NFC South division, because let's face it, their offense looks okay, I guess, but they are definitely not going to be a top-tier offense next season. So, with that being said, they need to be able to invest more on the defensive side of the ball to try to help balance out what they aren't going to be able to get on the offensive side of the ball for the Carolina Panthers. So, I do like this bold prediction, double up on the pass rush, as I do believe the Carolina Panthers, with the number 8 overall selection here in the upcoming draft, could be looking at a handful of pass rushers, but also maybe be looking at some veteran pass rushers in free agency. Then, guys, next up, the New Orleans Saints. Their big, bold prediction, don't restructure Derek Carr's contract. And I understand they don't want to restructure it. They don't want to add more years or more dead cap money onto the end of this deal. But they may be forced to, because they are so over the salary cap right now that I believe if they don't restructure deals with quarterback Derek Carr and also Cam, they're a long time veteran defensive lineman there, if they don't restructure those contracts, they're going to be really kind of shit out of luck when it comes to free agency, and possibly might not even be able to sign most of their draft picks this upcoming draft season. So really interesting to see what's going to happen for them. We could possibly see New Orleans sign another veteran quarterback to help compete with Derek Carr for that starting quarterback spot, but more than likely, Derek Carr is going to be the quarterback for the New Orleans Saints heading into next season. And then we move on to my Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and their big poll prediction, cut running back Rachaad White. Why? You have him on a pretty dang good rookie contract right now, and as we enter free agency, we only got $2 million in cap space. So, okay, so you let him go as he enters his final year of his contract, and that could save $3.3 million in cap space with less than $250,000 in dead money. I mean, he's a good 1-2 punch, though, with Bucky Irving. Now, I know Bucky Irving's going to be the starter next year. Absolutely. But to have a little bit of like what Detroit's got with Sonic and Knuckles, that could work really, really well for this offense. So I think this is a bad bold prediction. I do not believe they will cut Rachaad White, maybe trade him. I could definitely see the Buccaneers doing that. But my thing with the Bucs this season, they need to re-sign wide receiver Chris Godwin. We need him back, because if he was healthy this year, oh man, I think it's a whole completely new ball game for the Buccaneers in the 2024 season. So they need to re-sign him, and we also need to bring Levante David back if he doesn't retire. That veteran guy coming back on the defense is going to make a hell of a difference for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So guys, moving on to the NFC West, as we only have one more division to go here. And now the Arizona Cardinals, their big bold prediction heading into this offseason could be raid the San Francisco defense, as they could be looking at a lot of big free agents coming from the San Francisco 49ers, including defensive tackle Javon Hargrave, linebacker Dre Greenlaw, and quarterback Travarius Ward. All are expected to be free agents coming up here in this offseason. I really do think Dre Greenlaw should get some pretty big numbers in free agency, so maybe that might be too rich for Arizona, but I do like this bold prediction. Try to stack up on the defensive side of the ball. You already have some playmakers already on the offense, and I think they'll try to draft some more. If you're the Arizona Cardinals, that's kind of what they're known to do, is draft offensive playmakers in the NFL draft. So getting some veteran guys on that defense could definitely help them out. And thank you guys for hanging out here on Tim Reynolds Show for this Football Friday talk. Please make sure you guys hit that like button and subscribe to the channel, as I'm trying to reach my 1,000 subscriber goal for my YouTube channel. So yeah, guys, for the Arizona Cardinals, I think definitely adding some veteran pieces on that defense is going to make a big difference for them going forward in this offseason. And then we move on to the Los Angeles Rams. And their big, bold prediction here is trade quarterback Matthew Stafford and bring in Sam Darnold. Now, I don't necessarily like this move, but if you're Sam Darnold, if you're going to go anywhere, you definitely want to go with Sean McVay and that Los Angeles Rams offense, because they already got some young guys on the offensive line that prove they can pass protect pretty dang well. They got Kyren Williams at the running back position, who's one of the best young up-and-coming running backs right now in the league, and you also got one of the best wide receivers in the NFL right now with Puka Nacua. Now, what they do with wide receiver Cooper Kupp, I think, is going to play a big part in this, because apparently they're going to trade him and not bring him back, which is stupid in my opinion. I understand maybe he's got a high cap number, but you want veteran guys in your locker room that have been there, done that, and he's been a Los Angeles Ram for forever, and he's definitely a guy who demands respect in that wide receiver room. So I think it's a big mistake from the Los Angeles Rams to not keep Cooper Kupp. Trading Matthew Stafford, though, could be a good play for them. They should be able to get a lot of draft capital back there for that quarterback, even though he is 37 years old. But there's so many teams right now in the NFL that need a quarterback that this could be a very big move for them. I guess I just don't like Sam Darnold signing with them. But it's really going to be interesting to see where Sam Darnold actually signs this upcoming offseason. And then we move on to the San Francisco 49ers. And their big, bold prediction is show Brock Purdy the money. And I definitely think this is something they really have to do if you're San Francisco. Extending your quarterback is the best thing you can do for this offense, for this franchise, to set them up for future success. Now, I know we have the Deebo Samuel situation, as he's requested a trade from the San Francisco 49ers. And more than likely, that is going to happen sooner rather than later, because that's going to help them really big in the cap department. But they also have to figure out what to do with left tackle Trent Williams. Are they going to keep him, or are they going to try to trade him for some more draft capital? And then also, I've heard a lot of rumors about wide receiver Brandon Ayuk possibly being a trade candidate as well to help with the cap situation, because they have a lot of pieces on the defensive side of the ball that they either need to resign or replace, and that's going to cost San Francisco a lot of money. And I don't think they're going to have enough draft picks to be able to get all the pieces that they need for the defensive side if they want to be able to compete heading into next year. So I think the San Francisco 49ers should definitely sign Brock Purdy, their quarterback, to a contract extension. And then, guys, last team here on this fabulous Football Friday on Tim Reynolds Show is the Seattle Seahawks. And the big, bold prediction for them, shake up the wide receiver room. I think the Seattle Seahawks definitely need to get some more playmakers on that offense. I think you could see wide receivers DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett be candidates to be traded. And I think you could get a lot back for either one of those guys, as they could really fit into other people's schemes. And I think DK Metcalf, you could get a lot back for him in a trade. Although I do like him, I think they need to keep him as a number one target to go with Jackson Smith and Jigba, who definitely produced a lot last season. So keeping them two as a 1-2 punch. I think Tyler Lockett's definitely not coming back to the Seahawks this year. That's probably more my bold prediction in this. Shaking up the wide receiver room definitely means letting go of a veteran guy who's been there for a while. I think Tyler Lockett, hats off to him, but he's got him and DK Metcalf have two of the three highest salary cap hits in this roster, including quarterback Geno Smith, to say among others. And what's up, Sam? Hey, thanks for hanging out, brother. Make sure you guys hit that like button and subscribe to the channel on this fabulous Football Friday right here on Tim Reynolds Show. So yeah, so letting go of Tyler Lockett, finding a trade for him, I think is going to be very good for Seattle. And even if they can't find a trade, they do save $13 million against the cap by just cutting him. So it could be really interesting to see what happens. Right now, if DK Metcalf ends up on the trade block, watch out for the Bills and Chargers to possibly be guys that look to go after DK Metcalf. And I think Tyler Lockett's going to fit in a lot of NFL offenses, so it's going to be really interesting to see where he ends up. Maybe the Commanders could be a pretty good spot for him. Heck, maybe even for the Baltimore Ravens, they could really use a guy like him as well. Maybe even the Green Bay Packers, but it'll be interesting to see what happens with them. I know for Seattle, they definitely need to get more playmakers on the defensive side of the ball on all three phases, pass rush, linebacker, and secondary. And not only that, they also need to make sure that they have a plan at quarterback with Geno Smith entering his last year of his contract here for the Seattle Seahawks. And it's going to be a really interesting offseason, especially with the salary cap going up as much as it has for these teams. I definitely think it's going to be really interesting to see what happens. And guys, I'd love to keep going here to head into some NFL offseason questions, especially with salary cap questions for all 32 teams, but we got to cut it short here as I'm not 2% on my phone, so I got to go ahead and call it here. But guys, thank you so much for hanging out here on Tim Reynolds Show for this fabulous Football Friday talk. And guys, please make sure you like and subscribe to Tim Reynolds Show on YouTube as I'm trying to reach my 1,000 subscriber goal. And I'm hoping I've reached it by the end of this live stream, but we'll just have to wait and see what happens. You know what I mean? But thank you guys so much for all the support. I appreciate you guys so much. Thank you guys so much for helping make this dream come true for me on Tim Reynolds Show. This is my dream to be a YouTuber and to start my own YouTube channel. And I love having these Football Friday talks with you guys. And I can't wait for the next one. Hopefully we'll see Sam, NYCRK, Jamie, Gamecock Fan, Jim, Bob Jones, and Shadow, and a lot of other you guys come back into the chat. Kevin, we got Pac Fan and Zach, who's a new subscriber. Thank you. WCW, Gator Travels, Zach again. We got KO, another new subscriber that hopped onto the chat, and many, many more of you guys. Thank you so much for you guys chiming in. Thank you guys so much. Please make sure, like I said, you hit that like button and like and subscribe to Tim Reynolds Show on YouTube. Thank you guys so much for all the support, all the love throughout this season. And guys, we're heading into the 2025 NFL offseason where we're going to see a lot of big changes coming up. So make sure you guys check out my YouTube channel for more NFL content, not only for the upcoming offseason, but also for the upcoming 2025 NFL Draft. Peace out, everybody, and enjoy the rest of your Friday. And guys, also, make sure you check into my live play-by-play tonight for WWE Friday Night SmackDown as the final boss, The Rock, will make his return to Friday Night SmackDown. And I can't wait to bring you guys all the excitement and all the live play-by-play and reaction right here on this sports entertainment, sports loving, football loving YouTube channel that is Tim Reynolds Show. Let's fucking go. Thank you guys so much for all the love and support. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to Tim Reynolds Show on YouTube. Peace out, Sam, and peace out all you sports loving football fanatics and all the fans of Tim Reynolds Show. Thank you guys so much. Peace out, everybody, and enjoy the rest of your Friday.